Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of the Nap Bros podcast. And today we're going to do episode 29, just because that's what we are numbering it. And guys, give us a subscribe. Click the bell. Let it notify you when we're going to be posting on YouTube. And click that like button. If you are listening on your podcasting app, make sure that you subscribe and leave us a review over on whatever podcasting app that you are listening to. Without any further ado, Andrew and I are going to get into this conversation about gun control, and we would love to hear what you have to say about what we talk about in the comments below.
I mean, but you don't have to comment if you don't want to. It just helps us feel better.
It's not for personal validation. It's because we're inviting them to converse with us, to give us their own opinions, their own thoughts and ideas. But like one of the challenges is like so kind of like getting into this idea is like when you're having a conversation with somebody who either disagrees with you or you know I guess believes something different than you or has kind of their own opinion about certain things. I think it can be very dangerous to respect that person, or not very. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Wow. I think it can be very dangerous not to respect that person or to view that person as less than human, which I think is what we kind of are being taught to do today. Is that if somebody disagrees with you, especially about something that's like a big topic, but now it's turning into like even like minor things, like things that don't really seem to matter, it can devolve into a really heated debate and discussion. Actually, it just it devolves into just a yelling match, not even really a debate or a discussion. And so I know that for this topic in particular, either you are for gun control or you are against it, and there's not really like anything in between. But when you're having these types of conversations, there has to be a lot of sorry about that. There has to be a lot of respect when you are showing or when you are listening to how somebody thinks and what somebody believes.
You know, I don't know enough on the left side. Much less, I don't really like validate anything that the left says. Like most of the stuff they talk about is just crazy.
In
Like
what sense?
anything's
What do
like,
you mean?
well, it's just like anytime I think of like a left, a leftist comment or a leftist movement or anybody on the left making comments like for instance, you know, gun control. Guns kill
Mm.
people. Cars kill people. Like it's looking at the statistics or the numbers, so to speak. You know, to something to be done about school shootings, absolutely, 100%. But you sit here saying, "Hey, well, let's just add more laws." Um, let's add more laws because apparently all the other laws are working just fine, right? And people, I've known felons before that could just go on the street and get a gun anyway, anytime they wanted. It's like there's no rhyme or reason to sit here and think if one law can't be enforced, how another law is going to help. I mean, I've always heard the comment, so law-abiding citizens will obey the law, but what about criminals?
But
Um,
like, and that's but well, that is something that we've heard or something that like I've heard on the right. But the problem is like so like one of the one of the things that I was thinking is like so they've got these potential red flag laws which are basically if you want to go and buy a gun, like either you have people who vouch for your like credibility or you go in and you do some kind of like mental eval or evaluation to make sure that you are mentally okay to have this gun, or other types of things. Like I think the biggest issue that people have is how easy and quickly somebody could get a gun if they want one, and either like because for instance, the kid in Uvalde, like he was able to legally get the gun and get it quickly, and then within a matter of a couple of weeks, go and murder these 19 people, 19 children and 2 adults. And so the question then is like, what if it was like you had to go through this process? Like, what if there was a process that took time, and they do come out, and or they give you an evaluation, and they figure out if you are actually capable of owning a gun? Like, because the thing is like, yeah, the argument, the age old argument of, well, do guns kill people, or is it people who kill people? Like, because cars kill people too, and we're not going to regulate cars. But it's not like, I mean, you've got to go through a bunch of different tests in order to get a car, or not to get a car, but in order to be able to legally drive a car. You have to get insurance in order to be able to legally drive a car. You can illegally drive a car just like you can illegally own a gun, but there are steps to getting there. But even that isn't necessarily that turns into more of like a red herring. It's like that's what it turns into as far as argument goes. It's not really a valid argument. Like, we're not talking about, if you want to talk about how many people die in car crashes versus mass shootings, I'm sure that's a lot more. However, that being said, you know, with mass shootings, it's somebody choosing to get a gun and to go in and to kill these people, or to get in
Right.
and get a gun and go in and choose to shoot these people. And so I don't think that can hold up. But the thing is, like, this is one of those things. I don't know what would be beneficial. I think it needs to be talked about, but generally, the right will say no, you can't take our guns away, and the left will say no, we just need to have some kind of stipulations going on about it. We need to have some kind of control that goes into it. And I don't know. I mean, like, for me, I think there should be like some kind of middle ground that needs to be met. But the problem is most people, and this kind of goes back to that idea of conversations. If you're right, then you stay on the right, and you don't deviate a little over to the middle. If you're left, you stay to the left, and you don't deviate a little over to the middle. It's just, and so there's like anybody who kind of would classify themselves as somebody in the middle, or if there's some way that you can give and take a little bit, like have some kind of like discussion of like what would be good to have in there versus not. Like, there's not really any of that. It's just either don't take our guns, or we need to have more control. There's not really a discussion in the middle of it. Do you think that there needs to be a change to the gun laws?
I think I think we should be able to buy fully automatic weapons still. I think we
Really,
should go the other way, honestly.
really.
I mean, yes and no. How to put it? There's ways around things. I don't know if you know this or not. Like, there's always going to be some way who finds, or someone who finds a loophole for the rules. You know what I mean? Like, for instance,
Okay.
they're like, we're banning, assault rifles, or we're banning 30 magazine clips or something like that
Mm-hmm.
for assault rifles. Well, now someone's making a pistol. It's called a pistol, even though it still looks like an assault rifle. And it just has an arm strap or an armband strap on it, It's like, the rules are ineffective in the sense of like nobody ever A follows them, and B there's always some way around them. Um,
But that doesn't
Second thing,
necessarily mean that they're ineffective. Like, just because people break the rules or find loopholes in the rules, doesn't necessarily mean that they are ineffective.
Well, I mean, how so? If people are breaking the rules, then that means they're ineffective.
If so, but no, 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 no. But the rule, if someone's breaking the rules, like that's okay. That's like saying, okay, let's see. That's like saying, okay, so the rule that says you can't steal from a bank. Well, since there are people who are still bank robbers, that means that that law is ineffective. It doesn't mean it's ineffective. What it means is that that law makes it clear that those people who are stealing are breaking the law, and so will be punished once caught. Now, can they run forever? Sure, they could probably run away forever and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that it's an ineffective law. Um, just like the law about like as you say, evading taxes. Are there people who evade taxes? Sure. Is it against the law? Sure. And the thing is like, yeah, if you want to change that law, if you don't want to pay the taxes or you want some kind of law to be changed, then you kind of need to get out there and you need to vote for that. But that being said, that doesn't necessarily give you the right to like it doesn't mean that that law is ineffective. The law that states that we're supposed to be basically paying taxes or giving taxes to the government. But what I'm saying is, I'm not even necessarily saying like getting rid of assault rifles. I'm not even necessarily saying that. I'm saying
What are
putting
you
more
saying, sir?
stipulations on who can get those types of weapons, who is able to, and also there needs to be some kind of one thing that I do think is one thing that I think is kind of challenging or that can be difficult. And I know a lot of right wing people are going to hate this, and I know that you may hate this, and I know Dad will hate this, but even to the extent of making it somewhat more difficult or a lot more difficult to have private gun sales. Like I understand the argument against registering guns. I understand that because you don't like if the guns were created in such a way or the reason why we're allowed to bear arms in the Constitution is to avoid a tyrannical government. I get that. I understand that. And so to that extent, having a registration of those guns means that the government would then know if it becomes a tyranny. That government would know who owns these guns, who has these guns, and who to target. That being said, I think I think there needs to be something done in order to not make it so easily accessible for people to just be able to get guns. When you and I bought guns when we turned 18, we didn't really have to do anything. We just showed up, got the money. Yes, we registered the guns. They are owned by us, and yet we didn't have to
Hmm.
do anything to show whether or not we were mentally okay to have these guns. We didn't really need any of that.
Yes, yes. There's no proof. But it's like, that goes against the very fiber of who we are as a country. It is my right to bear arms. There's no reason, if I haven't impeded on anybody's rights or liberties, that I can't buy a gun. It's like COVID-19. There's no reason why, I shouldn't be able to walk through any store that I want to just because, you think I need to have a mask on or you think I need to be tested every couple of days.
Well, no, that like I would disagree with that from the get because
Well, of
every
course you
company
would.
has the right. No, no, no. Every company has the right to refuse you service if you do not abide by what they want you to do. Which
Well,
now that being
yes,
said, every
of
company
course
also
they
has the
do.
right. So like especially like in Kentucky and Tennessee, every company has the right to sit there and say whether you're allowed to carry a gun into their establishment or not. Just like you, as a citizen of that city or state or country, you have the right to determine whether you want to go in there and give them business or not. It's not it's not a okay. Well, I just because I want to go in and not wear a mask, or just because I want to carry my gun into the store, just because you say I can't do that, or you say I have to wear a mask. No, no, no. The company has the right to say that, just like you have the right to not shop at that at that company to make sure that you don't give money to that company, right?
Right.
But that being said, the COVID thing and the gun control thing. I think are two different things. Yes, we do have the right to bear arms, but the problem is again an 18-year-old who hadn't infringed on anybody's rights beforehand, hadn't done anything that could be construed as infringing on the rights of anybody else, legally went in and bought guns and then shot up and infringed on the rights. So the thing is, like, I understand the infringing on the rights, I get that, but the problem is there needs to be something done about the mass murderings. I'm not saying get rid of guns completely. I'm not even saying that. I'm saying there needs to be some what generally the right side is saying is no, nothing needs to be done. Everything is fine, but it's not. Like, how is it okay that 19 children lost their lives that day? How is it okay that what happened in Sandy Hook happened there? You know, that all of those people, all those children were killed. How is it okay that mass murders, whether it was in Las Vegas or whether it was Columbine or whether it was Parkland or Virginia Tech or any of the mass shootings that have gone on in any of these places? But how do we diminish the amount of mass shootings? How can we make it to where it's a little bit more challenging for people to just be able to go in, buy the guns, and go?
Clearly, something needs to happen. But what? I mean, I don't have that answer. What do I think could happen? I mean, I think a lot of the issues are public school systems aren't really well funded. For one,
Okay.
I think if the federal government really cared about all these shootings, they would be more than happy to provide some kind of security relief for all these school systems. I think that both liberals and Republicans have dropped the ball, or conservatives have dropped the ball on these facts 110%. You know, one's like, oh, let's get rid of immigration. The other one's like, well, let's allow immigration and let's support a war across seas. I mean, all of them are like, let's support a war across seas, basically, when Americans are dying on American soil every single day. I don't necessarily disagree with adding some kind of rules or stipulations. I mean, maybe we need to just change it to where someone needs to be 21 before they can get a gun. Maybe step that up. Maybe there needs to be a way for I mean, maybe there could be a 1 week holding period to where you can't walk in and buy a gun and walk out with it that day. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like. But in today's society, like nobody wants that. Nobody wants to just wait forever. Everybody's got to have it now.
It's one of those things where there has to be something, and I'm curious what like our audience would say, like what would be because and don't try this. Well, you shouldn't take our guns away, or you got to have complete control. Like we got to find something that's in the middle. We've got to find something that will be useful, but also kind of take everybody's ideas to heart. Let's get into the conspiracy theories that are floating out there, especially, and I'm sure everybody's heard this, and if you haven't heard it, then I'm sure it'll come out at some point in
What?
time.
There's
But
conspiracy theories.
the the general conspiracy theory is that these shootings are actually orchestrated or designed or led by the government. Uh, more than likely, it's led by liberals, hardcore liberals, because generally liberals are the ones who are calling for more and more gun control. and the conservatives are generally saying no, and so naturally the conservatives would say that it seems like, especially the extreme mass shootings, a lot of them or most of them are being perpetuated or being created or being designed or being started or being introduced by Democrats or liberals in order to be able to get more control of the guns and in order to be able to have less guns, even potentially, so that obviously the next round would be being able to have a more tyrannical government. Not to be one who is completely like blinded by the fact that our government probably does things that we don't necessarily know about and or understand. Not to say that that is not the case. Like I am well aware of that. But to kind of call it a conspiracy theory that the government sent in this guy to Uvalde and the guy into Sandy Hooks, I would challenge like what the conspiracy would be. Like how in the world like did they convince this guy to go in and shoot up an elementary school if he didn't already want to do it?
What would you be willing to give up? I mean, answer the question yourself.
Me as a gun owner, what would I be willing to give up? I would be willing to give up like a mental evaluation. Yes, or like looking into the red flag laws. Like if there are certain red flags that pop up, I don't know what those like. Maybe like the killing of like animals, but I don't know who would be able to notice that. Or like I think doing like some kind of mental evaluation, I'd be fine with that. No problem. Sure. Let a state be more in control. If a state wants to be more in control of guns, fine. If you want more gun control, go to that state. Move to that state. However, if you want to live in a state that has a little bit looser gun control laws, I like the idea of the states being in control. Now, granted, Texas being one of the looser ones in relationship to gun controls, if the citizens of Texas are so heartbroken, doesn't matter what I necessarily feel in Tennessee. Do I feel bad about it? Sure. Can I do something in Texas about it? No, because I'm not a citizen there. Like, what can I do? But can I do something in Tennessee about it? Absolutely. Like, I could say something. I could be working on like voting for laws, voting for politicians who would be more in control and help prevent that from happening. But in Texas, if they want to go and do the work there, then go there, do the work there in Texas. Like if you live in Texas, if you're there.
You know, I both know Texas ain't gonna put no gun laws in effect.
But that's the thing is like to an extent, maybe not. You know, or maybe they will. Maybe this is enough. Maybe there will be enough people out there to say, you know what, this is a really bad thing. We really need to start kind of like figuring out a middle ground, a place where we can agree. Um, maybe, but again, I'm fine with the states determining that, not the federal government.
Some people are like, arm the teachers. I'm like, nah, that's probably not the best idea. Most teachers hate kids. But I don't. I mean, the other thing is, security may not work. Like, was there not a security guard at this facility? How the kids still get in? It's multiple aspects that need to be looked at. Maybe we should start locking down the community. But then that's the added caveat is, hey, now this place is locked down. Now what? Why have we had an alarming increase in shootings, mass murders since 2014? You know, let me ask you this. If such things weren't so widely publicized, like you know, so much airtime given to stuff like that, would the stuff happen as much? Like I feel like sometimes it's more or less people are just looking for a claim to fame versus just dealing with their own crap. Like to say that people haven't had thoughts of like being upset with people at work or stuff like that. That's everybody has those feelings. It's It's we don't act on them, so you know, I feel like everybody would have that if one, there was the penalty for such a thing was greater, and then two, such things weren't so publicized where everybody thought like, hey, here's my claim to fame. You know what I mean? Nothing good is ever aired on the news. It's always the bad stuff. And that's part of the reason I don't actually watch too much news, honestly. Like my life is crazy enough without having to watch somebody else or the what all the crap going on around the world.
I've also heard the argument that maybe it's mental health. Like, why not get better access to mental health instead of having so much access to making it easier to get mental health help, mental health help, yeah. In order to instead of having so much access or such easy access to um, guns and those types of things.
If we cut the crap and we actually sat down and been like, listen, our kids are dying every day, from this, from that, from whatever, we're not going to leave until we figure something out, I feel like we could hammer something out, but more or less, we don't have enough responsible adults that
Mm-hmm.
are willing to do that. Like, get over yourself and let's get it done right. Um, Plus, just adults are idiots most of the time or half the time. Like nobody, nobody wants to concede, or if that's the right word. Is it concede the right word? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody wants to be, give up anything. It's like, once again, I understand that. I get it. I really do. We don't, you don't want to ever be wrong, but at the same time, it's like, shut up, sit down, let's figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, The other thing is, there's no right or wrong answer. It's we're all trying to make this work better for our kids.
And I think that's the thing is like being able to understand that it's not that you're so against other people, but like trying to make it to where you can explain to them or like sit down and discuss with them and have that conversation with them and say, hey, listen, we're going to talk about this, but we need to kind of like be level headed about it, and being able to kind of like feel like that you're willing to listen to them and that they're willing to listen to you, that kind of thing.
Before you left the states, how many guns did you own?
Two. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm a gun owner. I'm a proud gun owner. I appreciate being able to have guns.
you carried concealed. I
Mm.
mean, and I didn't know if you'd owned any more besides the one I knew about. Apparently, I forgot about the moss and the gun. To answer your question that you're going to ask me, I think my count is 10 now. I believe is how many I own.
Is that really necessary? Do you need 10 of them? My goodness.
Yes, and you know what though, I will say this much, and for those of you listening may disagree or not agree, I will never buy an assault rifle or a gun made like an assault rifle because if I can't put the ammo down range that I need with the guns I have now, an assault rifle is not going to make it any better. More or less, the last little point is you know, nobody wants to give up the rights. Nobody wants to sit there and concede to the other side. Sit down, shut up. Let's agree to something.
But then also the other aspect of it is like, yeah, I do agree. I mean, if you think about it, like people have been able to own guns for past like 200 years, and let's say in the past like 50 years or 40 years or 30 years, those have been incredibly more powerful guns. But only within the past, say, 15 to 20 years have things gotten really bad as far as mass shootings. Like there has to, if we look back, and I'll say this to your point, if we look back before that, we never really had this issue of mass shootings like we do nowadays. So what changed between then and now? And not since 2014, but since maybe like the 80s or 90s. What has changed? And I think a lot of that could be with how people are raised. Um, a stigma against mental health, where it's like, okay, if you got a problem with your mental health, then who cares? Instead of like going and trying to get that fixed or having easy access to it, like all of these different things, I think kind of point out to these being the problems, these being the issues that have percolated in our society for 20, 30 years. And yeah, is the answer to get rid of all guns? No. Is the answer to continue allowing people to just purchase any gun? No. We've got to find what it is. Like, is it like this and mental health? Is it like this kind of control and examining mental health? Is it getting tests done, getting registered? Like, we've got to find something.
I agree. We have to find something.
Let us know what you think. How do you think we can fix what we've got going on? How do you think that we can get rid of mass shootings, but also still appease to both sides, both the gun control side and the gun owner side? What can we do? We want to know what you think down in the comments below. If you're listening on your podcasting app, please subscribe, leave us a review. That way people can know about our podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, again, click subscribe, click the bell. That way you get notified when we're posting things. And click the like button. It helps us out with the algorithm. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. I'm Nick.
I'm Andrew.
And as always,
You have an open invitation to our conversation.